All right, so we are getting ready to enter into a new year. And these are times where I really enjoy. I really enjoy coming into a new year. I really enjoy the start of a new week. I always feel like this is a great opportunity to start fresh, right? This is why a lot of people make New Year's resolutions and they set up all these ideas and plans. And as we know from the data, most of them people give up on. And it leads me to this thought that I was having this morning about why we quit. Why we quit. And I think that as we're going into a new year, if we really understand why we quit, we might be able to stay with things longer, especially the things that we know we want to do and the things that we want to become in the new year. And so this video, I wanted to just encourage you in the idea of becoming the person that you need to become. Now, the reality of it is that, some of the most difficult things that we can do is actually becoming who we were created to be. See, the reality is that there's a lot of things that are warring against us. There's a lot of things that are coming against us. There's a lot of our own thoughts, our own ideas that are stopping us, that are prohibiting us from stepping into who it is that we were made to be and who it is that we know that we can be. And I think it's really fascinating that this happens because on one side, you have a mind that is like, no, I really want to do this. This is where I'm going. This is my objective or my goal. They're very clear. It's very clear, right? And then on the other side, we self-sabotage. We stop ourselves from progress. We give up. And why is it that we do that? Well, I think one of the biggest reasons why we do that is because the process of becoming is actually one of the most difficult processes that we can go to. And I think it's difficult because it's the way that we're designed, but it's also the way that we stop ourselves from growing. So for example, like a tree is going to give fruit. A tree is going to grow in a certain direction. And if you just leave it alone, it'll grow in that direction. But with us, we also have kind of a double mind where the second mind stops us from growing in that direction. And so what begins to happen is you begin to get frustrated. You begin to get stifled. You begin to experience discomfort and pain because you're not aligning yourself with the direction that you're growing in. And so I think that this idea of becoming is an idea that's actually really painful. And that's the work that needs to be done. And so I want to encourage you, as you're going into this new year, who is it? Who is it that you need to become? What is the thing or the things that God has been working on you, has been telling you for years, has been sending people to give you messages? Like, what are those things that he's calling you to do? What are those areas that he's telling you to move in or to focus on? Because those are the areas where you will become the person. Now, you might see that, and I know even myself, like there's certain things where the Lord has called me in certain directions and I'm not going in those directions. And I ask myself, why not? And the biggest reason why is because of fear, right? Because of fear, because of uncertainty, because of pain, right? It's going to be a lot of pain to do these kind of things. I don't know if I'm willing to pay that price. But listen, let me just tell you this, and I think you know this if you are resonating with this message, that there's a lot more pain in not doing the thing than actually doing the thing. You're going to cause yourself a lot of pain, a lot of frustration. And at the end of the day, you're not going to become who it is that you need to become. And so as we start this new year, I wanted to give you a couple of thoughts and just some context around those thoughts. At least this is where my mind is at. Identity before activity. Man, this is a big one for me because for a long period of time, everything is focused on the activity. Everything is focused on like what I need to accomplish or what I need to get done. And if you don't have the identity part before the activity, then it's going to lead most of the time to failure. It's going to lead to not getting it done. It's going to lead to giving up. It's going to lead to being overwhelmed. It's going to lead to a whole bunch of consequences that could have been resolved if you simply focused on the identity. So what is what is identity? What does that actually mean? Identity before activity. The way I look at identity is actually kind of the same way of becoming the person you need to become is who actually are you? Not what people know you by or not what, you want to aspire to be, not any of those kind of things, but who actually are you? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about what you have in your possession? What do you believe about your future? What is it that frames your self-identity, your belief? This is a huge one because I think that there's a lot of areas. I just had a call earlier this morning with a great friend and a mentor. And, one of the things that he told me, and it was a very, it was kind of like it was a wake-up call for sure. And one of the things that he told me was, Jesse, for this new year for you, I really would hope that you would understand the value that you bring. Because I notice in our conversations and you sometimes doubt the value that you bring. And you know what? For 2026, I hope that you would understand that value. And what is that? Well, for me, I know why. It's an identity issue, right? There's certain things where I'm like, okay, well, I'm not over here. And so, I'm not where I want to be or maybe this or that. And these things are now defining me and my identity. What are those things for you? What are those areas of identity where, you might be looking at that and you might be saying, oh, I'm not this or I'm not that, or, those are all identity issues. And if you don't resolve those issues before you start creating or you start focusing on activity, in some way or another, you're going to weave those into everything that you do and everything that you touch. And so, man, identity before activity. The next one is transformation begins with renewal. Transformation begins with renewal. We all want to be transformed, right? Whether it's like, I know a lot of people want to physically be transformed, right? Like, oh man, I'm going to start hitting the gym, start working on my health. We all want to be transformed. We all want our business to scale. We all want all these kind of results of transformation. We want it to look completely different than the way that it looks now. And, a precursor to transformation is renewal. You have to renew the thoughts, the ideas, the systems, the process, the habits. You have to renew things before you transform things. Because let me just share with you a little bit of a danger with that. And I've experienced this in my own life, is if you don't renew before you transform, then what you do is just compound all of the same mistakes that you're already operating and functioning in. If I don't fix my business before I start scaling it, then I'm just going to scale all of those problems. All those problems will just get larger. It'll just scale. So this part of renewal, now it's not attractive, it's not something that we really want to do. We're thinking to ourselves like, oh man, I just want the transformation. I just want to step in to all of the things that God has for me. I want to step into all of the success that I know I'm capable of, or whatever it is. But if you don't renew first, then you're just going to compound some of those problems. And that's it. Then you're going to be right exactly where you were when you started, or maybe even worse in some cases. So transformation begins with renewal. And the last little piece of encouragement that I would, just give you, and I think that this one is for me for sure, is process over perfection. Process over perfection. The reality of it is that we all want to show up a certain way. We all want things to function a certain way, to look a certain way, to feel a certain way. And that's perfection in many cases. But the reality of it is, and there's a lot of data on this too, is what people and what motivates and what gets results in any area. What people relate to is they relate to authenticity, right? They relate to just people being who they are. People lose connection when things are overly perfected. We start to detach ourselves You know, you can think of a person that maybe you know and you're like, oh man, this person has it all together. You know, this person is perfect in everything that they do. They never fail. They never struggle. Well, there's going to feel like there's not a lot of relatability to that person, right? Even in our own lives, nothing perfect. First of all, nothing even starts out perfect. So whether you're aspiring to do something, you have to pay that tax of being willing to just go through the process. Go through the process. And you know what's funny enough, I'll just share this, is that this is exactly what this video is for me. I didn't overly prepare. These are some thoughts that I had in my mind that I just wanted to share. But you know, going into 2026 for me is more of a year of creating content, is more of a year of showing up, is more of a year of teaching, is sharing value, is just being more creative and sharing the things that I've learned, sharing the things that I'm passionate about, and sharing the things that are on my heart. And you know, the biggest area that has held me back has been perfection. Not perfection in aesthetics, right? Because as a filmmaker, I have all of the equipment, I have all of the space and all of that stuff. But is it perfection in the messaging? What specifically am I showing up to talk about? What specific value? And I would over obsess about how I wanted to show up, what message I wanted to deliver, instead of just sharing some thoughts, sharing maybe a revelation or two, sharing an idea, a strategy, or even like this video, just some simple encouragement. So, you know, I want to just encourage you in 2026, back to the 3 main points, you know, focus on who it is that you need to become. That's the overall idea. Who is it that you need to become? And understand that there's going to be some pain involved in becoming that person. Identity before activity. Really focus on understanding who it is that you are and who it is that you're becoming. Transformation begins with renewal. Focus on renewing those areas of your life that you know are not where they need to be. And then the last thing is process over perfection. Dive into the process, be encouraged. Understand this, there's a law, there's a principle that when you do the things that lead to growth, growth will occur. Even if you don't see it, even if you don't feel it, when you do the things that lead to growth, growth is a natural byproduct.